It's pretty clear to me that right now, the AI altcoin narrative is the strongest trade in the entire crypto market. And there are a few altcoins specifically which are presenting really enticing setups for those willing to take the trade. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down my favorite AI altcoins, giving you the setups for these altcoins, and also discuss why I believe an AI rotation is currently on the cards in what could be the strongest performing crypto sector of May 2024. If you do want to stay up to date with the latest crypto alpha, make sure to click that subscribe button and that post notification bell, because on this channel, I like to do my best to make sure you're early to the new trends in crypto, getting you into these narratives, giving you my altcoin picks, but also at the same time educating on how I generally trade this market to help you succeed in 2024 and beyond. It's certainly a volatile market. We have lots of ups, we have lots of downs, but hopefully at the end of it all, we all come out the other side much better off for it. And I absolutely love the community we're building here. By the way, I just wanted to take a second to thank everyone for supporting me on this journey, subscribing to the channel, joining my private community, or even as something as simple as commenting on these videos. I appreciate every single one of you. So where do we currently sit from a Bitcoin perspective? Because we got to look at macro just for a second before we get into the AI narrative specifically. Bitcoin, surprisingly, after a week of turmoil in the Bitcoin and the altcoin market, has ended up closing a weekly candle firmly within its range. This is the craziest part. Despite there being a lot of crazy emotions last week, despite there being a lot of fear in the market and that fear quickly swinging into greed, so all of the swings and ebbs and flows of that week resulted in, looking in front of me here at the Bitcoin chart, a stable Bitcoin price from a week to week perspective, which is crazy. So basically what happened is it wicked down. The week was full of a lot of panic, but we've essentially retraced the majority of that move and we've ended up closing actually bullish on the weekly. And it looks like we want to close another consecutive green candle, which is super interesting just to think about. And obviously the reason for that is a lot of altcoins did, especially the smaller caps, give up a lot of their gains. So I understand if you're mostly capitalized in the altcoin market, it was a very scary period. And obviously having Bitcoin looking like it wanted to break below support, that was also a little bit edgy in terms of the risk parameters. However, having Bitcoin starting to really make this strong thrust to the upside does start to build a little more confidence in the altcoin market. And I think you can start to see that now with a few altcoins starting to sweep green on the daily, especially the AI narrative, which is something we're going to discuss later in today's video. Looking at Bitcoin on the one daily now, so not the weekly, you can also see we have pivoted nicely off this range low at 62,500. We're making that thrust to the upside. The next major resistance is actually at 68. So I want to see here whether Bitcoin can actually push up and make that higher high past the 67K level, or whether this will be a lower high, something like this, and then we come back down and retest this support zone again. I would love to see us clear this level and test the 68K region, because this would be a bullish reversal and it would kind of be a inverse head and shoulders here for Bitcoin to come up and test 68. Let's see what happens, but from a technical perspective, that's what I'm eyeing on Bitcoin. Moving on to the more macro side of things, we can actually see that stable coins are actually on the rise again in the crypto market. So despite that little shakeout, more money is starting to flow into the crypto market. So there are still net inflows. We also saw net inflows on the Grayscale GBTC Trust for the first time in a matter of months. So from a traditional finance perspective, that was an encouraging sign. And it's definitely one of the reasons why Bitcoin has made this thrust to the upside. And the other encouraging thing when we do look at the altcoin market right now is that the funding APR heat map has almost completely reset. So I said it on a show a couple days ago. That flush out was one of the healthiest things that could have happened to the market. We essentially got rid of all the bad leverage. The funding, as you can see in front of you, almost completely reset. And this gives the market almost a bit of a fresh start in the midst of what was definitely an over-greedy, over-hyped, overheated market, specifically when we start to look at things like meme coin pre-sales going crazy, meme coins pumping, a lot of degeneracy occurring, VCs getting a little bit exploitative with their tokenomics, trying to step on the boundaries a little bit of retail. There was just the signs starting to creep in that it was getting a little bit too crazy. And I actually think from a sustainable bull market perspective, getting that pullback, getting that reset is much healthier for the market when it comes to forming a nice basis for the next leg to the upside. But of course, we've come here today not just to talk about the macro cycle, because I did discuss that in depth a couple of days ago. We've come here today to discuss AI altcoins. Now, people that have been watching my channel, the loyal followers, will know I've been covering AI for quite some time. I've actually been covering it since 2023. We caught Render super early at $2. We called Agix super early, etc. So we've done really well in the AI market. But I still do believe AI is one of the crypto verticals with the most potential this cycle. It's a very unique narrative because it has this real life news flow, which gives the AI altcoin market the propensity to spin up these mini cycles. And it never really fades from the mindshare of retail for this reason. So if you look at the crypto landscape in general, you have a narrative like gaming, which might pop up once a year. Maybe the L2 narrative pops up once or twice a year. Maybe L1s even go on a run. And these happen very cyclically. Maybe they happen once per cycle. Maybe they happen once per year. But you have the AI narrative, which conversely has many different events which can trigger pumps to the upside. And that's why on these shows, I've talked about the strategy of on major dips, like we saw with the render price recently, having that major wick down to that support level at $6, just accumulating these AI coins, holding, stacking, lowering your cost basis, because eventually we are going to see outperformance during one of these narrative waves because of this real life news flow. And during that period, you can start to ladder off and take some profits off the table, essentially bank some stable coins to reinvest lower. And the AI narrative has been super generous to us, giving us multiple waves. That's why it makes it unique in the crypto market. Now, it's not just AI that has this unique characteristic. There are also sectors like meme coins, which periodically keep outperforming. But it is limited, I would say, to a few select narratives because the broader crypto market in general hasn't been that hot in recent times. Although we have seen outperformance in certain sectors, there are coins like the L1s, for example, which have slowed, and it's going to take a little bit more general liquidity coming into the market and general bullish conditions for those coins to see them outperform during a certain period. Now, everyone that watched my video on April 23rd about AI round 2 kicking off, you guys would already be in profit. I did highlight this setup here on Render. I made an observation that it was starting to show signs of recovering quicker than a lot of the other alts, and everyone that was following that setup would have had access to the breakout trade here, which ended up being a decent trade from the $8.50 level all the way to the $9.90 level. But I also want to play a clip of exactly what I said in that video because I was a little early to the trend here. So not a lot of creators were talking about a couple weeks ago an AI rotation. Now I'm seeing a lot of people starting to pick it up on Twitter and YouTube. So maybe I was a little bit too early from the perspective of the general market sentiment. But as I said, on this channel, I try and make sure you're early to the new narrative. So I would like to play my logic then because it still stands a couple weeks later today, despite prices starting to pick up just a little bit more. I've been saying this in my shows. I think the next few weeks are going to be quite choppy. And then at some point, we will see that expansion to the upside. And when we do, I think AI is definitely in the conversation to be one of the strongest performers due to the fact that you have a lot of these specific ecosystem catalysts that can propel it at the same time as this general market rally. And that's exactly what we've seen. With the market bouncing quite strongly off the lows, lo and behold, the AI coins actually ended up outperforming the market. And in crypto, you're generally trying to position yourself in the strength. And this is what dips give you such a good gauge on. What narratives are the strongest? And clearly, the recovery from the most recent dip kind of tipped the market's hand a little bit and showed us that AI is the strongest narrative. And this is something I discussed again a couple of days ago in a recent update on May 4th regarding Render specifically, because I thought at the $8 region, Render was presenting itself as a good trading opportunity. I do think Render as the leader of the sector still represents a relatively strong proxy. There's also a few reasons for this. I really like this tweet from Gold, which said, Render's the only crypto with an Apple integration partnership, popular token, small runway for an event. Bitcoin and the market as a whole is not looking so dire at the moment. You can see here, there's an Apple event hinting at AI features. So as a proxy, I think Render is the closest attached token. And that's definitely what we've seen in terms of the price action. It has thrusted nicely off this major support level, obviously breaking through that trend there for a nice 44% gain. And obviously, if you start to add leverage on top of this, and it depends what your trading strategy is, but because I had clear invalidation here at this level, I did feel comfortable taking the trade. And yeah, we're up nicely. That's something I shared in my private community, the Mars High Club. You can see the trade here. I know a lot of other people have been trading the AI alts because it's something that I've been talking about a lot in my alpha channel. So other people making, a killing off some of these trades off their render longs, and also some other setups we've been posting as well. So we've had a pretty good day in the Mars High Club, especially on these AI coins so far. I don't think the run is done just yet. I'm going to speak about in just a minute why that is the case. But I also want to give you guys a sneak peek into some of the other stuff that I do share in the Discord. One, actually just a couple of hours ago, was the Zero trade. It's a new launch that I was an early investor in, but I did notice the price was starting to get a little bit oversold, and it started to upswing on the lower time frame. So I did decide to take a position. I posted this in the group. It started pretty well, up $1,000, and then it ended up being up 6K, and I updated everyone in real time, then 10K, then 13K, and then 15K. And as you can see here, I decided to lock in the 15K profit. So in a matter of an hour, as you can see in front of you in the trading channel, I made 15K on this trade. That's just an example of some of the fun that we have in the group. I've actually seen a few comments over the last few days, people asking, Mars, how can I join the group? I didn't get in during the first round. Right now, the group is currently closed. It's going to stay that way for the foreseeable future, but I may increase the cap slightly because I want to keep a tight-knit community at some point during the next month or so. I don't know exactly when, but you'll have to be watching this show, because the second we do open the cap, I'll open up a wait list and we'll let the first people that join the wait list join. But for now, you can't really do anything, unfortunately, but we will open it up at some point in the future. And I must say, I've been really enjoying my time in the Mars High Club. It's been an amazing community to be a part of, and what we're building there, I think is absolutely awesome. If you're wondering where I've been trading coins like Render, the main exchange I've been doing it on is Blofin. It is non-KYC, which is a bonus. And there's also a really good sign-up bonus. I have 100 more slots available for, so 400 out of 500 have already been used. But if you're watching this video early enough, you can get access to the remaining 100 slots for this deposit bonus that we're running of $30 for depositing any amount, and then a trading reward competition where you can win AirPods, a Nintendo Switch, iPhone, a MacBook Pro, and even an Apple Vision Pro or a Rolex, dependent on your trading volume. So how does it work? Basically, sign up for an account. As I mentioned, it's non-KYC. They've got perps for most of the major listings, and they're also adding a lot more spot pairs for the investors out there. Basically, sign up, deposit any amount. It can be $1, $5, $10, and you can receive a $30 futures bonus to trade with for free. And then, of course, the more volume that you trade on the exchange, the better prizes you can unlock. So just for $1,000 of volume, you can get an extra $20 bonus to take it up to $50, and then you can unlock some of the other prizes. So there's a link in the description below. As I said, only the next 100 people will get access by using that link in the description. Then we'll probably change the campaign up a little bit, but I can tell you we did launch with a pretty strong one here. So if you do want access, I would get in quick. So I think you have an understanding now, if you've been watching the channel, why I do like the AI narrative. But why now? So we all know that longer term, AI is one of those really strong narratives which is symbiotic, as I mentioned, with a lot of real life news flow. And it's also a narrative people can understand. And don't underestimate the power of ease of understandability in crypto, especially when retail comes back. Are they going to gamble on L3ZK aggregators, or are they going to go for some of the more left curve narratives like gaming, meme coins, and AI? I would say the latter is the more likely outcome in a bull market. So considering most retail hasn't come back, and I do believe at some point more people will flood into the market as prices begin to rise, I think positioning yourself in these very simple yet effective narratives is a shrewd move on major dips. That's something I've discussed a lot about. But what about in the shorter term, in the next few weeks, in the next month? I am starting to notice something brewing for AI. And this is one of the reasons why I made that video a couple weeks ago. And it's one of the reasons why just a few days ago, I also gave you an update, and I updated my Discord as well with some trades, because I am starting to see something brewing. It's not just from the relative strength, because AI is up 34% on the week compared to a lot of other narratives, which are just up 5, 10, 15%, but also because there are a lot of upcoming catalysts I want to draw your attention to. The first major thing that is on the cards, and one of the reasons why Render specifically has been running recently, is due to the Apple WWDC, where they are expected to announce new AI tech. I know they've been working on AI integrations with Siri. They're working on potential integrations with things like the Apple HomePod, etc. So Apple is foraying and investing a lot of money into the AI sector. And for that reason, it is likely we do see at the next WWDC some sort of announcement in that space. Now, this happens on June 10th to June 14th, so it's still a month off. But as we know, crypto narratives tend to start running in the lead up to these events. Now, sometimes they become buy the rumor, sell the news, but we are relatively early in the sense that we're still a month out from this. And although all AI coins will benefit from AI hype, Render is, as I mentioned in that video a couple of weeks ago, the closest attached coin to this. A particular catalyst which is a little further out, maybe June, July, they haven't announced an exact date, is ChatGPT 5. And this is actually the biggest catalyst, in my opinion, for the AI narrative this year. Now, if you open up a trade today, are you necessarily getting the ideal exposure to this specific catalyst? I'm not sure because we don't have a date. However, over a longer term time horizon, I do view ChatGPT 5 as a big catalyst. Why? Just think about what happened when ChatGPT 4 came out. There was a bunch of new features which made people scared. It made people excited. It was all over my Twitter feed. It was all over YouTube. It was a very big development breakthrough. Every single time they release a new iteration, there are new features which are breakthrough because AI tech exponentially increases as more iterations are released because of self-training models and because of the extra investment that's now going into the sector. We know Microsoft has been putting billions, even hundreds of billions of dollars in planned funds to go into the AI sector. So ChatGPT 5 represents another opportunity for the market to get super excited about some of these new features that launch. And I definitely can see this being a positive for obviously not only AI stocks and that whole, macro narrative, but also crypto, because you got to remember the crypto AI tokens are a lot of them really like AI. Some of them are dubious, right? But they are the most liquid way and the most high risk way, and people love gambling, to speculate on the growth and of the hype in the AI sector. So don't get yourself fooled here. Investing in Render, for example, which is actually a deep in play, doesn't give you exposure to the success of ChatGPT 5, but what it does give you exposure to is the narrative and the hype. And that's really what you're trading in crypto. I mean, meme coins are a full exemplification of hype, narrative, and community in crypto. The other major event that I hear a lot of people talking about in relation to AI, and I actually think even though this is the most talked about event, it's probably the least relevant one, is the Nvidia earnings happening on the 22nd of May. This one is just in a couple of weeks. It's the first major catalyst before the Apple event and then, of course, ChatGPT 5. I only think this will really impact the AI market positively is if they absolutely smash expectations out of the park. You can see their expected EPS is 5.55. The revenue is expected to be 24.39 billion. Let's see how much they end up beating. If they beat by more than 10, it may end up being good for Nvidia, and then as an extension of that, the AI market as a whole. So now we've talked about some of the more macro catalysts and shorter term catalysts, of course, for the AI narrative. Let's look at the charts. What are the crypto charts telling us? We know AI has responded the best out of all the narratives alongside meme coins from the bottom of that wick the other day. But what is next for AI? Well, I think a lot lies in the charts right now. Eugene said yesterday, one of the clearest layup trades on the rebound is the AI rotation heading into Nvidia's Q1 earnings later this month. By the way, some of this does hinge on the general altcoin market performing strongly. Right now, a lot of the liquidity is going into Bitcoin. Alts actually aren't performing so well. So we are somewhat reliant on an altcoin rotation here. I just want to make that clear. But if we get it, I do think AI tokens will lead. Eugene goes on to say, almost every AI chart looks absolutely golden, with multiple exhibiting fierce one-day trendline bounces. We're going to look at this in a second. In isolation, I'd be a little more suspect, but with memes leading the way and key Bitcoin levels being reclaimed, this is a no-brainer for me. And that's, of course, one of the reasons why I've been trading this play in the Discord, and I did make those videos about those setups. Today is an important follow-up, which is maybe a little bit more time sensitive with some of these levels now starting to break. Let's first look at render. This is, as I mentioned before, probably the one that's most clearly attached to the narrative in terms of the AIWWDC. It did have this nice bounce off the lows here at the 7 region. It broke through this diagonal. It did end up making a higher high. This is extremely positive. I don't want to get too low time frame here, but a logical retest level, if it does pull back enough, is this 910 to 920 region. But on the daily, because we're starting to break above these local highs, I do think there is potential for sustained momentum, especially, as I said, if the altcoins do start to pick up and AI does lead that run. Let's go through some of the other alts, because render has led. Some of the others are still lagging a bit, and that can spell opportunity. So let's go through the list from highest to lowest. The next one is Nia. Nia is obviously an L1, but it also has AI attributes, and it's starting to become part of the AI narrative, AI infrastructure narrative. There's a very nice setup here starting to brew. The 7.6 region is a very key level on the daily. Very interested to see how we react. We're currently rejecting, but this is a level that I'm watching, considering we are in an uptrend. We have higher lows here starting to form. We have this clear $6 level forming as support. If we can keep maintaining this series of higher lows, you kind of got two options. One, you can play these pullbacks, or because we could go down to 6 and it would still technically be a higher low, but we may not get there, so we may just pull back into this mid-range. Or the next play, because I don't think buying into resistance is a wise move in crypto, generally speaking, could be to long the breakout here, and then you can have your clear invalidation on that trade. So that's something to watch on Nia, starting to present a pretty clean chart setup. FET, compared to Nia and Render, is lagging a little bit, but it also has a really nice chart setup, similar to what Eugene's referencing here with the fierce one-day trendline bounce. You do have this clear bounce off this 180 level. Notice how a lot of these AI alts are looking similar, chopping in these ranges where you have your range low. We've had, strong reactions around this range low area, and then you also have your range highs. And the way you play it really depends on how you trade. If you're a spot trader, it doesn't matter so much. You can kind of just generally buy into any major pullbacks. If you're more of a leverage trader, you might have to be a bit more selective with your entry. There's also, I'll just draw it in, it's a pretty rough trend, but it's something that is coming to mind. A trend like this that is starting to occur on FET. The diagonal trend, obviously with this level here at the 2.6 region being a clear level you have to break to make a higher high on the daily here for FET. But I really do like this price action. Compared to the other alts, it's very encouraging. Probably alongside like WIF and Pepe, some of the stronger looking setups in the market. AOS, once again, very similar chart. Bounced off these lows here, made a higher low. So a lot of these coins in the secondary liquidation cascade didn't even go back down to their April 14th lows that GCR famously defended with his tweet. So that's also a really encouraging piece of price action for a lot of these alts. ATOR looks a little bit different because it's not solely trading under the guise of the AI narrative. It also is a deep in project. This is interesting to me because although it is making a lower high, if this does start to gain momentum, it could, because of their AI partnership, start to gain some traction within that niche as maybe a little bit of a late runner. It also did bounce off the 200 MA quite nicely. You do have this clear support at $1.50, and that response was encouraging. So just watching the price action on ATOR, but this could be one that picks up in that sector as well. Another one is RSS3, one that I've talked about on the show before. Obviously, when I first talked about it at 20 cents, like we're all still up on our spot positions. We even had a crazy run, which was an opportunity to take some profits on the way up, as I always recommend you do. Very interesting setup starting to present here. Once again, having that retest, then the higher low, and now starting to flirt with the idea of breaking the 40 cent level, which is major resistance. I would wait personally, and this is just personal, right? Not financial advice. None of this video is, of course, for a break of this resistance level and a confirmed retest on the daily to get a little bit more confidence there. Generally, what you see with these rotations is the majors runs, like, near render, and then some of the lower caps start to run. Now, I won't speak about the lower caps in today's video, but there are some that were absolutely beat down, went down 80, 90%. Some of them are on your screen right now that got absolutely smacked, that are starting to look a little more attractive. So what I would urge you to do is just look into the ones that you think you like. I mean, maybe you like Powell, OXO. I've never really loved these, and obviously they got majorly hit in the latest dip, so I'm actually glad I wasn't a big holder of these, but they are starting to look a lot better on the lower time frames. So if you're interested in them, you can play them. Scrolling down, you've got some of the riskier stuff as well, which hasn't really bounced as much. As I said, the leaders have run first. So if you want to jump the gun a little bit, you can look at jumping the gun. For me personally, because I trade with slightly more size, I can capitalize a little bit more in some of these higher cap alts and play it that way, but it all depends on your risk profile and your strategy. If you do want somewhere to trade these altcoins, you can do so on Blofin, as I mentioned. Trade with no restrictions using the link in the description below, and depositing any amount for the first 100 people will get you a $30 bonus. And then based on how much trading volume you accrue, you can also win an iPhone, Macbook, Apple Vision Pro, or a Rolex, which is amazing. So link in the description to sign up there and claim that sign up bonus. I'll keep you updated as this narrative develops. But as I said, I do think if altcoins do rally, AI should lead here. So it's definitely one that you should be paying attention to at the very least. Hope you did enjoy today's video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.